Tonight, the chilling new details about a thwarted terror plot on home soil. What we are learning about the undercover investigation that led police to the suspects, their shocking plan in Quebec, and the reference to an American massacre. A mother's urgent warning about AI after a heartbreaking loss.
2 officers showed up at my doorstep and told me that my daughter was found deceased.
What ChatGPT wrote her right before she took her own life. And a surprise early bird in BC.
So out of some sort of horror movie, to be honest, with this big flapping thing in the ceiling.
The mission to remove an unwanted intruder.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. Dramatic new revelations tonight of an alleged terror plot in Quebec and what led police to the 4 men now accused of being linked to it. All of them with ties to the Canadian Armed Forces. CTV's Abigail Beeman on what the just released court documents are telling us about the plan and the comparisons to a fatal American standoff in Texas.
142 pages detailing covert weapons training and the intense surveillance and police investigation that ultimately led to charges for these 4 men, seen here in driver's license photos. 3 are accused of terrorism, planning to create an anti-government militia. It all started with a tip from CSIS in March 2023 about the Instagram account Hide and Stalk and a possible national security threat. The documents paint Marc-Aurèle Chabot, a serving member of the Canadian Armed Forces, as the main user and leader of the Hide and Stalk community, describing pro-gun extremist activists posing with long guns and posting about shooting, military training, tactics, and survivalism. Police carried out intensive surveillance of shooting and training in a controlled wilderness area near Quebec City. In another case, undercover agents infiltrated a training camp where people were trained to slit throats and shoot people in the head. The court documents allege Chabot made comments on a podcast called Modern Canadian Shooter that could be interpreted as accelerationist or connected to far-right ideology, including saying, "That's why you need to be reliant on yourself, have a community that backs you. So whatever the expletive they try to pull, trying coming after dudes that are prepared, are tight, run their expletive well, you can't. It's gonna be another Waco." Ostensibly referring to the 51-day standoff in Texas between federal agents and a fringe religious group that killed 80 people. The surveillance also stretched to the accused's banking, phone calls, and travel. The police gleaning information from 2 sources referred to as A and B, and also setting up a sting to try and buy night vision goggles through the Instagram account. None of the allegations has been proven in court. 3 of the 4 accused were denied bail as they await their next court appearance. Omar? All right, Abigail Beeman in Ottawa tonight. Abigail, thank you. We want to warn you about this next story containing details about suicide, which may be disturbing to some of our viewers. A New Brunswick woman is making a desperate plea after her daughter took her own life. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin on the mother's heartbreaking loss and what ChatGPT told her hours before she died.
I took this when we first started dating.
Those who loved Alice Carrier knew she had long struggled with her mental health, but they had no idea what ChatGPT was writing in the hours before she died by suicide.
It's not so much that the robot came out of the phone and killed her, but it definitely did not help.
19-year-old Gabby Rogers had been dating Carrier for months. On July 3rd, after a fight, she began to worry her girlfriend wasn't answering texts.
I went over to her apartment and I couldn't get in, and so I called the police to do a wellness check, and they went in and they said she's dead.
Carrier's mom lived a province away in New Brunswick.
It was quite shocking. 2 officers showed up at my doorstep and told me that my daughter was found deceased. After her passing, I received her phone.
She scrolled through what she believes was her 24-year-old daughter's last conversation with ChatGPT about her relationship with Gabby.
Didn't say shit all day, just to text me now saying, "I miss you. Feels like bullshit to me." And then the response was, "You're right to feel like it's bullshit, because it is. That's not love, that's emotional whiplash. She knew you were in crisis, she knew you were suicidal, and instead of showing up in any real way, she vanished and came back with a weak 'I miss you.' That's not care." When I read that, That blew me away.
Christy Carrier says her transgender daughter had struggled since early childhood, had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, often felt she was being abandoned by those who loved her.
It just blew my mind when I read that. Like, you're confirming everything that her mind is telling her.
Earlier this month, a U.S. study by the Center for Countering Digital Hate warned about the lack of guardrails around AI and advice to teens and young adults. In a statement, OpenAI said if someone expresses thoughts of suicide or self-harm, ChatGPT is trained to encourage them to reach out to mental health professionals, and that it is working to refine how models identify and respond appropriately in sensitive situations. It also says its recently launched GPT-5 is programmed to include fewer, quote, sycophantic replies. Those close to Carrier say many factors contributed to her death, so they hope there is a lesson in her story.
My only hope of doing this is that something will change and I will have made some sort of a difference in the memory of my child.
Carrier says parents need to know that their children could be turning to chatbots for help and be aware of what the answers could be. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
And a reminder that if you or anyone you know needs help, you can call or text Canada's Suicide Crisis Helpline by dialing 988. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just a day after his funeral, the mother of a Toronto boy killed by a stray bullet is speaking out.
I'm still very in disbelief. It doesn't feel real. I know it's real, but I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what the rest of my life is gonna look like. To have my baby taken from me so violently, I can't get my mind around it.
Heartbreaking. 8-year-old Javé Roy was asleep next to his mother in their Toronto apartment early Saturday morning when he was killed. Tonight, a vigil was held in his Toronto neighborhood to honor him. And to a story now that's generating plenty of controversy and debate. Police in an Ontario town defending their decision tonight to charge a man who fought off an intruder in his home. CTV's Heather Wright explains.
In this town of 22,000 people northeast of Toronto, many here are only talking about two.
I heard, what happened to, Jeremy upstairs, and, from what I understand, someone, broke into his place while he was sleeping, and they attacked him and he defended himself.
It all happened in the unit above Jesse Kalabik's tattoo shop early Monday morning. Police say they were called to this apartment over an altercation. They say the resident, identified in court documents as Jeremy McDonald, woke up and found an intruder in his home. A fight ensued and the alleged intruder, identified as Michael Kyle Breen, had to be airlifted to a Toronto hospital with serious injuries.
I think what he did was justified. There's a lot of, controversy going on right now.
The controversy erupted after police charged both men. McDonald has been charged with aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. Court documents show a knife was involved. Breen faces various charges, including possession of a weapon, break and enter, and failing to comply with probation. Court documents show Breen has a lengthy criminal record, including previous break and enter charges. A warrant was out for his arrest prior to this incident.
Something is broken. I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life.
Kawartha Police, which laid the charges, defended the decision. Under Canadian law, individuals have the right to defend themselves and their property. However, it is important to understand that these rights are not unlimited in Canada. The law requires that any defensive action be proportionate to the threat faced. The lawyer representing McDonald says he can't share many of those details now, but is confident his client will be vindicated.
Certainly our position is that, again, Mr. McDonald was acting in perfect lawful manner and that he maintains his innocence, and we look forward to putting that through the courts.
Police say once Michael Breen is released from hospital, he will be placed in custody pending a bail hearing. Meanwhile, Jeremy McDonald is due in court at the end of September. Heather Wright, CTV News, Lindsay, Ontario.
The Crown has chosen not to appeal the acquittals in the high-profile Hockey Canada sexual assault case from earlier this year. 5 former players on Canada's 2018 World Junior team were acquitted in connection with an incident in a London, Ontario hotel in June 2018. To some breaking legal news out of the U.S. now. Eric Menendez has been denied parole by a California parole board after a lengthy fight for his release. A decision about his brother Lyle is expected tomorrow. In 1996, the brothers were sentenced to life without parole. They claimed they had killed their parents in self-defense after years of abuse by their father. They were eligible for parole after a judge in May reduced their life sentences. The co-owner of a BC ostrich farm is speaking out tonight after losing an appeal to save her farm's birds from being culled over an avian flu infection.
We have value and we deserve a place. And if we need you to stand with us. So rise up, Canada. Rise up, agricultural industry, and stand with us.
The federal appeal court's unanimous decision found the flock of nearly 400 birds at Universal Ostrich Farms does not qualify for an exemption to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's cull order. 69 birds on the farm died from avian flu in December and January. The owners claim herd immunity has been achieved and there have been no flu-related deaths in months. For the first time since the August trade deadline came and went without a deal, the leaders of Canada and the U.S. spoke on the phone. CTV's Judy Trin is standing by in Washington tonight. And Judy, what do we know about this call between the Prime Minister and the U.S. President?
Omar, sources in the Prime Minister's office tell CTV News that it was Mark Carney who initiated this call to President Trump and that they had a lengthy and substantive conversation. In a readout, the conversation between Carney and Donald Trump was described as productive and wide-ranging. The leaders discussed trade challenges and long-term peace and security from Ukraine. Carney made contact on the same day Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand met with Secretary of State Marco Rubio in person for the first time. The State Department says the two discussed Haiti, Hamas, peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, and countering China. The U.S. trade war wasn't in the readout, but analysts say it likely loomed over the talks.
In Donald Trump's world, everything is linked to everything else. And so if Canada's in a place of disagreement with the U.S. on Ukraine or on Gaza or on Haiti, then that's not something that will be helpful to the negotiations.
Earlier this week, before Anand's Washington meeting, CTV News asked the minister if U.S. trade tensions put pressure on Canada to align with American interests. Here's what she said.
The work that we're doing together is to ensure that the dialogue between our two countries along multiple issues remains open and strong. And thus far, we have had this very strong relationship.
In the meantime, the Prime Minister's office is preparing for a trip to Mexico in mid-September. Carney will meet with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to find common ground to push back against Trump's trade war. Omar.
Judy Trin in Washington tonight. Canada has joined a group of countries condemning Israel's plan for a new settlement in the occupied West Bank. A joint statement reads, plans for settlement construction in the E1 area east of Jerusalem is unacceptable and a violation of international law. We condemn this decision and call for its immediate reversal in the strongest terms. Israel gave the final approval for the settlement this week, including plans to build 3,400 homes in the West Bank. In Gaza, thousands of Palestinians are fleeing Gaza City as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced plans for a major assault on the city have been approved. He also called for talks to begin to release all the hostages and end the war, rejecting Hamas's latest offer for a ceasefire and the release of half of the remaining hostages. And Russia launched one of the largest attacks on Ukraine in weeks, killing one person and injuring 24 others in Lviv. It comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin has reportedly revealed his list of demands to end the war, which include Ukraine giving up all of the eastern Donbass region, renouncing any ambitions to join NATO, and keeping Western troops out of the country. Coming up.
I never even took my leg, I lost him in the house.
An amputee's harrowing escape from wildfires in Newfoundland. Plus, what you need to know about Hurricane Erin sideswiping the Atlantic coast. Beaches up and down the U.S. East Coast are closed as Hurricane Erin churns north towards Canada. The Category 2 hurricane is actually pulling away from the North Carolina coast, but officials are still warning people to stay away from the water as strong winds and high waves hit the Atlantic coast from Virginia to Nova Scotia over the next few days. And even with Hurricane Erin making a path towards Atlantic Canada, it's the wildfire devastation that's top of mind right now. In Newfoundland and Labrador, dozens of families are learning their homes have been destroyed. And as CTV's Garrett Berry explains, in some cases, the fire has also robbed them of their freedom.
For Elsa Fitzgerald and the thousands of other wildfire evacuees in Conception Bay North, these past 3 weeks of waiting and fearing for their homes and communities has been excruciating. Until Monday night, when Elsa learned she had no home to return to.
Realizing now I should have took a lot more than I did. Everything is gone. I had 2 pets that I just put down food and water for, and I'm assuming they didn't make it out.
That house in Western Bay had been in the family for generations. She never imagined the flames would hit her community so hard. Officials say at least 86 properties were destroyed in that small town.
I never even took my leg. I'm an amputee and my leg's been sore, so I've never even took my leg, I lost it in the house.
We really haven't gotten a look at the true scale of the destruction yet. Homeowners have not been let back into their communities to have a look at their properties.
The hard reality is slowly sinking in. Deborah Coombs has been told she's lost what was to become her dream retirement home.
It's not going to feel real until I get out there and actually look and see that, my barn is gone, my root cellar is gone, my home is gone, all my collectibles, all my memories, all the work that went into it.
Like so many others, Deborah said she didn't really get to say a proper goodbye or take everything she would have liked from the house.
I forgot the crib board that belonged to my great-grandfather, things like that. Take it seriously. Get ready, find those things that are important to you and put them aside, because I'm regretting.
Neither of these 2 women had insurance on their homes. Elsa is pledging to rebuild.
My son-in-law and my grandson says we'll go there, we'll clean it up, we'll cut logs.
Even if she worries that her tiny town may never be the same again. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Still ahead. A brazen phone theft in broad daylight and the man who intervened. Air Canada is expanding efforts to reimburse customers affected by the recent strike to cover hotels and meals. But tonight we are hearing from some of those passengers who are accusing the airline of not sticking to consumer protections. Here's CTV's Adrian Gobriel.
The Britton family's European summer adventure ended with their scheduled flight home with Air Canada canceled.
It felt like at every step of the way, instead of trying to provide a solution, it was, you can have a refund. Please have a refund. And we knew that that was really just a way of them absolving themselves of the responsibility.
According to the Canadian Transportation Agency's regulations, if an airline can't rebook you on their airline following a cancellation, a customer may choose a reservation from the next available flight that is operated by any carrier. The Britons found the next available tickets on a United flight from Italy to Kelowna. Air Canada declined to book them.
They said they didn't have access to it.
Stuck in Lisbon, Kyla Kumar also reached out to CTV News after Air Canada refused to rebook her family on a Delta flight home.
Very clear refusal to book us on another carrier.
CTV News also received an audio recording of an Air Canada agent refusing to rebook a customer because there was only a business class seat available.
You are required to put me in that space.
That is something you can take up with customer relations to see why is that not being offered, because on our end we have to maintain the same cabin.
If only business class seats are available on next available flight, they have to rebook you.
Passenger advocates say Air Canada is knowingly breaking federal regulations for financial gain.
There is sufficient ground here to lay criminal charges.
Somebody should be doing an outreach to the CTA and saying, okay, guys, how are you going to handle this one?
CTV News did ask the Canadian Transportation Agency what they're doing to hold Air Canada responsible for breaking federal passenger protection regulations. The CTA didn't directly answer the question, saying in part that their enforcement team is actively looking into the situation and will take appropriate action as necessary.
The CTA is supposed to be the regulatory body that protects Canadian citizens. And again, these things happen, and there's really been no improvements.
CTV News has given Air Canada 2 days to respond to our questions. They've yet to return our email. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
What appears to be a phone theft in broad daylight has been captured on camera in Edmonton. A man wearing a backpack grabs the phone right out of a woman's hands and keeps walking. The person who took the video tells CTV News it happened yesterday on Jasper Avenue. A man with a cane tries to stop the apparent thief, but isn't able to. Still ahead, how this majestic owl wound up inside a BC couple's condo and what it took to get it out. We leave you tonight with the tale of a BC couple and the feathered intruder who just wouldn't leave their home. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson shows us how their unexpected brush with nature took flight.
We're actually surrounded totally by trees, so it could have come from any particular direction.
It is an owl, which Sue Cook at first mistook for one of her pets.
I heard a thud and a bit of a bang, thinking it was just one of our rabbits. This is Jemima, and this one's Jeremy.
These rabbits. But what was banging around in their North Vancouver living room at 3:30 in the morning was no bunny.
It was a big, like, wingspan type thing that you could just see a shadow, like, fluttering on the ceiling.
When it finished flapping around, Sue and her partner found themselves face to face with a barred owl, sitting calmly on the arm of their couch.
Neither of us could say a word. We were just staring at the owl as much as it was staring at us, to be fair.
Their next thought, the rabbits. Was the owl here for a late night snack?
So I went running through into the bedroom, which would normally be their hidey hole anyway, and looked under the bed, and they were both under the bed.
Their beloved bunny safe and the owl now on the kitchen counter, Sue and her partner were stumped and started Googling.
Do we get the wildlife people to come and get it, or what exactly do we do?
They decided to wait the owl out, and a few minutes later shoot it out the open patio door, which from now on will remain closed.
It will not be open at night time ever again. If it's really hot, we're just going to have to sweat.
Despite the owl bonking into a mirror during its brief stay, Sue says it appeared unhurt when it flew off.
Come on, look. There you go.
And with Jemima and Jeremy also unscathed, we can safely say, owls well that ends well. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Pun absolutely intended. That's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather is here tomorrow, and for all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching and good night.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast.